A very good morning to our viewers. I'm Smriti Rastogi with Breakfast News. In the next 30 minutes, we will get you all the news from national, international and sports front. But before we begin the bulletin, a quick look at the top headlines. International Court of Justice to hold public hearings in Kulbhushan Jadhav case. First confrontation between India and Pakistan at ICJ in 18 years. Two Lashkar militants believed to be involved in army camp attack last month in Kupwara. Border situation tense as Pakistani firing continues. Southwest monsoon covers Nicobar Islands 3 days ahead of normal onset date. IMD says too early to forecast when it will hit Kerala coast. Ransomware cyber attack hits as many as 2 lakh computers in over 150 countries. Warning of possible fresh disruptions as working week begins today. And India ends campaign at Asian Wrestling Championship with a silver as Sumit Malik loses to Iranian opponent in men's 125 kilograms category. Final tally at 10 medals. Pakistan continued shelling and firing for the second consecutive day along the line of control in Rajouri in Jammu and Kashmir on Sunday. Over 10,000 people have been affected as a result and over 1,000 people have been displaced. Fresh ceasefire violations were reported at Manjakot and Chingus area as well. Deputy Chief Minister Nirmal Singh met shelling affected people along the line of control in Rajouri and assured state government assistance to relocate them. Meanwhile, in Kupwara, 2 suspected Lashkar-e-Toiba militants believed to have been involved in a suicide attack on an army camp in Pansgam last month were gunned down by the security forces. The operation was launched by the 21 Rashtriya Rifles after specific information about the presence of militants. Several arms and ammunition were recovered from the slain militants. In the backdrop of the ongoing unrest in the Kashmir Valley, Union Minister Jitendra Singh appealed to the youth to question those who instigate them. He also rejected separatists as being stakeholders in the Kashmir and said that real stakeholders are the state's youth.
देखिए पूरे प्रबंध हैं अभी जो है पूरे बॉर्डर के ऊपर यहाँ फायरिंग हो रही है वहाँ से लोगों को सुरक्षित जगहों पर लेके गए हैं बाकी जगह भी पाकिस्तान कब कहाँ फायरिंग शुरू कर दे तो उसका पता नहीं है लेकिन सभी डिप्टी कमिश्नर्स डिपकाम साहब और बाकी लोग जो हैं पूरा उन्होंने प्रबंध कर लिए हैं उनको एवैक्यूएट करने के लिए उसके भी प्रबंध हैं उनके रहने के लिए सारी चीज़ें बिजली पानी रहने का प्रबंध जो है सारा जो है उसका प्रबंध है
I have made this appeal time and again to the youth in Kashmir that time has come for you to raise this question mark on those who instigate you to join this so-called freedom struggle, that if indeed this struggle is so holy, if indeed this stone pelting is such a holy task, then why don't they set an example by sparing at least one child from their family to become a stone pelter or to lay down his life? This duplicity is not going to work. The Kashmir youth has in fact already rejected this duplicity.
बॉर्डर का तनाव बढ़ता जा रहा है ये भी हमारे लिए कोई अच्छी बात नहीं है क्योंकि ऐसी सूरत न बने कि युद्ध हो युद्ध हमें बर्बाद कर देगा इतने सालों की जो हमने मेहनत की है इस रियासत को बनाने की वो सेकंडों में मिट जाएगी इसलिए बातचीत का मसला जो है वो करना पड़ेगा किसी न किसी तरीके से बातचीत को शुरू करना पड़ेगा यहाँ भी और वहाँ भी
वो इस समस्या का समाधान करने के लिए मैं समझता हूँ कि केंद्र सरकार हो या राज्य सरकार हो उसकी पकड़ ढीली हुई है और जो संदेश जाना चाहिए सख्ती का वो संदेश देने में हम नाकामयाब रहे हैं बल्कि संदेश हम ये देते हैं कि भारत एक सॉफ्ट स्टेट है.
Meanwhile, a Hizbul Mujahideen militant has been arrested at the Indo-Nepal border in Uttar Pradesh while trying to cross into the country. Nasir Ahmed from Banihal in Jammu and Kashmir was held while trying to sneak into the country in guise of a shawl and carpet vendor. According to the Rashtriya Seema Bal, he was planning to carry out terror activities in the country. He was carrying a Pakistani passport and an identity card of being a resident of Punjab province. He has been handed over to the Uttar Pradesh ATS for further investigation. Ahmed had crossed over to Pakistan in 2003 in a group of 23 people to join the Hizbul Cadre. He was trained in unarmed combat and weapon handling by the Hizbul, ISI and the Pakistan Army. He was reportedly involved in a number of terror activities. Pakistani's Interior Ministry had told a judicial review board that Mumbai terror attack mastermind Hafiz Saeed and his 4 aides have been detained for spreading terrorism in the name of jihad. JUD chief Saeed appeared before the board and told it that he had been detained by the Pakistani government in order to stop him for raising the voice for Kashmiris. However, the Interior Ministry rejected his arguments and told the 3-member board that Saeed and his 4 aides have been detained for spreading terrorism in the name of jihad. The next hearing of the board takes place today, and the ministry has been asked to submit a complete record regarding the detention. The board also sought personal appearance of Attorney General of Pakistan too. Pakistan government on January 30th had put these 5 under house arrest in Lahore for their involvement in activities which can be prejudicial to the peace and security. The government has also placed JUD under second schedule of the anti-terrorism attack.
ये पहली बार पाकिस्तान ने जहाँ तक कि मेरी समझ में ये बात स्वीकार किया है जो कि सारी दुनिया को पता था और कि हाफिज सईद वो जिहाद के नाम में टेररिज्म फैला रहा है पाकिस्तान के अंदर। लेकिन मेरे ख्याल ये टाइमिंग जो है इस स्टेटमेंट का यानी इस चर्चा का वो टाइमिंग है क्योंकि अमेरिका ने भी थोड़े दिन पहले अमेरिका के नेशनल इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसी के 2 दिन पहले उनके अध्यक्ष ने ये बात साफ तौर से कही है कि पाकिस्तान टेरर का अड्डा है और हिंदुस्तान के और अफगानिस्तान के खिलाफ टेररिस्ट हमले करते रहता है। ये सब करके ये उनको ज़रा कम नाराज़ करने के लिए, ये नहीं खुश करने के लिए, कम नाराज़ करने के लिए।
The International Court of Justice will today hold public hearings at The Hague in Netherlands in the Indian national Kulbhushan Jadhav's case. The ICJ is the UN's principal judicial organ. The development came after India approached the ICJ accusing Pakistan of violating the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations in the Jadhav case. India also sought a stay on Jadhav's death sentence. India had earlier contended that Pakistan failed to inform Jadhav of his rights. India had also pointed out that it got to know about his death sentence from press release. India submitted that it had information that Jadhav was kidnapped from Iran, where he was carrying on business after retiring from the Indian Navy. And then he was shown to have been arrested in Balochistan on 3rd of March 2016. The ICJ on May 9th had put a stay on the death sentence given to Jadhav by Pakistan. The ICJ was last a battleground for India and Pakistan nearly 18 years ago when Islamabad sought its intervention over the shooting down of its naval aircraft. On to some more developments, India on Sunday boycotted China's high-profile Belt and Road Forum, which is being attended by heads of the state and government of over 29 nations. This despite Beijing's overtures to ensure India's participation. India skipped the meeting due to its sovereignty concerns over the $50 billion China-Pakistan economic corridor, which passes through Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Following the boycott, both Islamabad and Beijing took a veiled swipe at India, with Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif saying that the billion-dollar economic project is open to all the nations in the region and must not be politicized. The Chinese President Xi Jinping said that all the countries should respect sovereignty. Xi called the New Silk Route initiative the project of the century and pledged to pump $124 billion for projects that would link the country to much of the Asia, Europe and Africa. The Chinese president also announced special lending schemes worth $56 billion to support cooperation on infrastructure, industrial capacity and financing.
一带一路承载着我们对共同发展的追求，将帮助各国打破发展瓶颈，缩小发展差距。
Create a far greater degree of difficulty from India from the security point of view as otherwise, under the guise of better connectivity for better trade purposes. But that is a guise. The real intention is to threaten India.
On to some more developments, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas arrived on Sunday on a 4-day visit to India. He will hold extensive talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on key bilateral, regional and international issues, including the Middle East peace process. Beside bilateral talks, several MOUs on cooperation in various sectors are also expected to be signed during the visit. Ahead of the Palestinian president's visit, India had reiterated its political support to the Palestinian cause and said it will continue to assist developmental projects there. The statement assumes significance in the wake of the growing proximity between the Modi government and Israel that might impact New Delhi's ties with Palestine. During his visit to India, Abbas will visit the Center for Development of Advanced Computing in Noida to forge cooperation for a techno park being built by India and Palestine. Abbas will also meet President Pranab Mukherjee, Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari and External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will unveil a roadmap for steps to be taken for the conservation of the Narmada River in Madhya Pradesh today. The event at Amarkantak, the place in Anuppur district where the rivers originate, will mark the conclusion of the Namami Devi Narmada Seva Yatra. The Narmada River Conservation Awareness Campaign was launched in December last year. In a series of tweets, the Prime Minister called the Yatra an excellent mass movement with a larger message to save the environment. He will launch the Narmada Seva mission. The Yatra concludes today after covering a distance of 3,344 kilometers and passing through over 1,100 villages and towns. Narmada is one of the only 3 major rivers in the country that flows from east to west.
सौभाग्य के प्रधानमंत्री जी पधार रहे हैं। यात्रा की पूर्णता उनके हाथों होगी, लेकिन यात्रा की पूर्णता होगी, कार्यों का शुभारंभ होगा। प्रधानमंत्री जी आगे जो काम हम करने वाले हैं उसकी कार्य योजना रिलीज करेंगे। सचमुच में जो दुनिया चिंतित है क्लाइमेट चेंज के लिए, क्लाइमेट चेंज के कारण, ये जलवायु परिवर्तन के खतरों को कम करने वाली यात्रा है, ये नदी के संरक्षण की यात्रा है, पर्यावरण बचाने वाली यात्रा है, आस्था का सैलाब उमड़ा इसलिए धार्मिक यात्रा है, लेकिन सामाजिक बदलाव का संदेश इस यात्रा ने दिया, नशा मुक्ति और बेटी बचाओ जैसा, उसके लिए सामाजिक यात्रा है। और मध्य प्रदेश की आर्थिक समृद्धि का आधार है नर्मदा जी, इसलिए आर्थिक यात्रा भी है।
And in the latest developments on the rift with the Aam Aadmi Party, SAG leader Kapil Mishra levelled allegations against the Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal for amassing unaccounted money through shell companies and donors. Mishra alleged that the shell companies were formed by people close to Kejriwal to channel black money into Aam Aadmi Party's account, and that the Aam Aadmi Party-led government awarded those companies with contracts and gave favour to the people involved. He also sought Kejriwal's resignation and threatened that he will drag him to jail. Meanwhile, rejecting all the allegations, the Aam Aadmi Party claimed that the BJP had connived with Mishra to get Aam Aadmi Party de-recognized and defame Kejriwal. Other opposition parties have sought a thorough probe into the allegations. In a related development, the anti-corruption branch has summoned Kejriwal's private secretary in connection with its probe in the alleged 400 crore rupees tanker scam. Mishra has also been called for further questioning today.
अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने इस तरह के भ्रष्टाचार और ये सारे जो घोटाले कर रहे हैं, पैसे के मामले में इतनी सारी बातें आ रही हैं, इन सारी चीज़ों से लोगों का भ्रष्टाचार के खिलाफ अगर कोई भी इस देश में कोई भी पूरी ईमानदारी से किसी भी तरह का आंदोलन खड़ा करने की बात भी करेगा तो लोग विश्वास नहीं करेंगे।
नैतिकता के आधार पर इस्तीफा दे देना चाहिए। और सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि ये जो प्रिवेंशन ऑफ मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग एक्ट में मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग का फिट केस बनता है। और यही नहीं, सबसे बड़ा प्रश्न इससे भी बड़ा ये उठता है कि ये पैसा कहां से आ रहा है।
सीबीआई और एंटी करप्शन ने उसकी जांच करनी चाहिए और जांच में अगर भ्रष्टाचार हुआ ये स्पष्ट हो गया तो फिर अरविंद केजरीवाल ने इस्तीफा देना चाहिए।
कपिल मिश्रा को फीड कौन कर रहा है, किसके इशारे पे कपिल मिश्रा काम कर रहे हैं, आज सबके सामने आ गया। आज जितनी बातें उन्होंने कहा, प्रधानमंत्री भी कह चुके हैं, इनके फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर भी कह चुके हैं।
And with that, we'll slip into a very short break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay with us.
Rajo Ki Baoli, located in Mehroli, is considered the most ornamental of Baolis in the national capital. It was built by Daulat Khan during the reign of Sikandar Lodhi in 1516. Rajo refers to masons who used it. The entire structure is subterranean, so only the topmost story is visible as the visitor approaches. Walk towards its steps and each lower level slowly reveals itself. The top floor has a row of arched niches. There are 3 levels going down with 66 steps. The Baoli complex has a 12-pillar tomb and a mosque with plaster decoration on it. Carved brackets support the chhajja below the parapet. There are rooms behind this arcade, meant for shade and shelter for visitors. The Baoli combines Islamic architecture with Hindu engravings and geometric designs.
Art arisen from a multi-hued cultural canvas. Tradition and cultural fervor dating back centuries. And encircling them all, there's a magic that awes. Embrace your nation's brilliant human warmth. Watch Colours of India, Sundays at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha Television.
Hampi, the austere, grandiose site, was the capital of the last great Hindu kingdom of Vijayanagar. Enriched by the cotton and the spice trade, Hampi was one of the most beautiful cities of the medieval world. Its palaces and Dravidian temples were admired by Arab, Portuguese and Italian travelers. Built between 1336 to 1570 AD, the city was pillaged over a period of 6 months before being abandoned, and is now one of the most striking ruins of the world.
Welcome back. Today is the last day for filing nominations for the Rajya Sabha by-polls from Manipur and Odisha. The vacancy from Manipur has been caused due to the death of Haji Abdul Salam, who passed away on 28th February this year. Manipur BJP President Kshetri Mayum Babananda Singh has been nominated as the party candidate for the Rajya Sabha by-poll. Congress has already nominated E. Dwijamani for the RS by-poll scheduled for May 25th. Dwijamani had contested the last Manipur Assembly elections but had lost. The vacancy from Odisha has been due to the resignation by Bishnu Charandas, who resigned on March 21st this year. The Supreme Court will today continue its hearing on the Triple Talaq case. A 5-judge constitution bench headed by Chief Justice J.S. Kheher has been hearing a batch of petitions challenging practices like Triple Talaq from May 10th. Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi would argue the matter today. The centre had on May 11th told the Apex Court that it opposes the Triple Talaq practice and wants to fight for women equality and gender justice. However, All India Muslim Personal Law Board Counsel Kapil Sibal told the Apex Court that Triple Talaq comes under the Muslim Board and therefore, in his opinion, Supreme Court should not interfere in it. There are 7 petitions, including 5 separate writ petitions filed by the Muslim challenging the practice of Triple Talaq prevalent in the community and terming it unconstitutional. In the last hearing, the Apex Court had termed the practice the worst form of marriage dissolution. On to some more news. The southwest monsoon has covered the Nicobar Islands and the entire South Andaman Sea. This is the 3-day ahead of its normal onset date. The Indian Meteorological Department, however, said it was too early to forecast whether the monsoon would hit the Kerala coast ahead of the schedule. The normal onset date over Kerala, termed as the official arrival of the seasonal rainfall in India, is June 1st. The IMD has said that the prevailing conditions do not suggest that monsoon could hit Kerala early because it has arrived early in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The normal onset date for southwest monsoon over the Andaman and Nicobar Islands is May 17th. Nepalese voters cast ballots in local elections for the first time in 20 years on Sunday to vote for local council representatives. This is being seen as a major step in the young republic's difficult transition to democracy more than a decade after the end of its civil war. Authorities recorded a 71% voter turnout with sporadic election-related violence and one person killed in police firing in Dolakha district. The last time local government representatives were elected was in 1997. A peace deal ended the decade of conflict in 2006 and the transition from a kingdom to a republic began for Nepal. But it wasn't until 2015 that a new constitution was adopted. Almost 50,000 candidates are in the fray for the position, like mayor, deputy mayor and ward members. A total of 878 candidates are contesting from Kathmandu, the capital city, and one from the largest constituency. Voters, some of them going to the polls for the first time on Sunday, were excited and hopeful of the power of their ballot. The second and the final round of polls will be held on 14th of June.
This election is much more important because the people are enjoying their sovereignty power, and this local government will encourage the people to utilize their sovereign power throughout the year. That's why it is so much important.
This election is quite exciting, taking place nearly after 2 decades, and I'm voting for the first time in this local election, and there are many like me. This election is not only about election, just an election, but I think this is a referendum of the old generation and the new generation.
India's Cyber Security Agency Computer Emergency Response Team of India has issued a red-coloured critical alert in connection with the WannaCry ransomware attack and warned users not to pay the ransom. Cyber security professionals worked round the clock over the weekend trying to protect corporate clients against the biggest ransomware attack ever before they open for business on Monday morning. Reports claim that so far those impacted in India include systems of the Andhra Pradesh and Maharashtra. Maharashtra Police, 4 manufacturing companies, 2 retailers and India operates the multinational, 2 banks and the Chennai facility of an automaker. Ransomware WannaCry is said to have swamped machines in over 150 countries, including India. The hackers, who go by the names shadow brokers, are demanding $300 in virtual currency Bitcoin to unblock access. India is among the most vulnerable because a large number of organizations and individuals still rely on older, outdated versions of the Windows. Some of the world's biggest institutions and government agencies have been affected so far, including the Russian Interior Ministry, FedEx in the US, and Britain's National Health Service.
In fact, what we're getting is that only 20% of NHS trusts have been impacted. Of the 48 that were impacted, most of them are back to normal course of business.
多的时候接到了一些学校的报告，就是有很多同学反映他们的电脑感染了一些病毒，有一些重要的文件被加密。
The United States and Japan have called for an emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council over North Korea's latest missile test. The meeting has been scheduled for Tuesday afternoon. North Korea's ballistic missile launch on Sunday is being seen as a challenge to South Korea's new president, Moon Jae-in, a liberal who said he wants to ease tensions with the North. The missile was launched from a military base and traveled some 700 kilometers before landing in the Sea of Japan. North's second missile firing in 2 weeks came amid mounting international concern over Pyongyang's progress in developing nuclear weapons that could be carried by long-range missiles. While NATO called Pyongyang's move a threat to international peace and security, The EU denounced the launch, saying it could further aggravate tensions in the region at a time when de-escalation is needed. The US has also demanded tougher sanctions against the North and urged a firm stance by Beijing, Pyongyang's principal ally. And here are some quick international updates in World Wrap. Centrist Emmanuel Macron took part as President of France on Sunday at a ceremony at the Élysée Palace, presidential residence in Paris, following his May 7th election victory. Macron pledged to work to overcome divisions in society and seek to build a strong France that was sure of itself in the world. More than 2,200 civilians and rebels evacuated an opposition district in Damascus on Sunday, bringing the government closer to cementing its control over the Syrian capital. The evacuations from the Kabun district in northeast Damascus follow similar departures from the Barzeh and Tishrin neighborhoods earlier this week. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has dealt a devastating blow to her main rival 4 months before national elections. Early results have shown her party securing a strong win in a regional vote in Germany's biggest state. Her Christian Democratic Union clinched 34.3% of the vote in North Rhine-Westphalia. The party snatched control of the sprawling industrial region, which has been a Social Democratic Party stronghold for decades. Ivory Coast military has launched an operation to restore order after 3 consecutive days of protest by the soldiers. The soldiers took to the streets in several cities over a pay dispute and blocked off the second largest city, Bouak, on Saturday. They have said that they are willing to fight it if the army intervenes. And on to sports now. India ended its successful campaign at the Asian Wrestling Championship with a silver medal as Sumit Malik went down to his Iranian opponent in the men's 125 kilograms freestyle gold medal bout on the final day of the competition. Sumit, making a comeback to the international circuit, could not pose much threat to his formidable Iranian opponent in his gold medal round, losing 2-6 to settle for the second position. The Indian wrestlers finished with 10 medals, including a gold, 5 silver and 4 bronze, bettering their tally of 9 medals in the last edition of the Asian Championship at Bangkok in Thailand. However, all the other Indian freestyle wrestlers in the fray bowed out early. In men's freestyle category, Iran defended their title while the Japan and Uzbekistan finished second and third respectively. And that's all we have for you in this edition of Breakfast News. See you again tomorrow, same time. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.